Have you ever had a moment that changed everything? One split second where your entire world shifted and you couldn't go back to who you were before. This is that story. My name is Alex, and what started as a simple favor for a friend turned into the most terrifying, beautiful, and life-changing summer of my life. It began with an RV, a road trip across the Pacific Northwest, and the one person I'd been trying not to fall in love with for 3 years. His name was Marcus. And what I saw in that shower? Well, you'll have to hear the whole story to understand. The June sun beat down on my apartment parking lot as I stood there, staring at the massive RV idling in front of my building. 28 feet of white and silver metal, windows tinted just enough to hint at adventure, and a door that stood open like an invitation to another life. "Well?" Marcus called from the driver's window, his trademark grin lighting up his face. "You getting in, or are you going to make me do this solo?" I adjusted the backpack on my shoulder, feeling the weight of everything I'd packed for the next 3 weeks. My entire life had been carefully constructed routines: wake up, work my graphic design job from home, hit the gym, meal prep, sleep, repeat. Safe, predictable, utterly devoid of anything resembling spontaneity. And then there was Marcus. Marcus Chen had crashed into my life 3 years ago at a mutual friend's birthday party. All chaotic energy and infectious laughter. He was a freelance photographer who chased sunsets across continents and never stayed in one place long enough to collect dust. We'd become fast friends despite being complete opposites, or maybe because of it. He grounded my anxiety. I apparently gave his chaos some structure. It worked. Except for one tiny, massive, completely unmanageable problem. I'd fallen for him. Somewhere between late-night conversations about our dreams and early morning coffee runs. Between watching him light up when he talked about his latest project and the way he always remembered how I took my tea, I'd crossed a line I never meant to cross. And I'd been living in that uncomfortable space between friendship and something more ever since. "Alex." Marcus honked the horn, breaking my reverie. "Come on, man. We're burning daylight, and I want to hit that vista point before sunset." I took a breath and walked toward the RV, telling myself this trip was just 2 friends taking a break from reality. Nothing more. "Sorry," I said, climbing up the steps into the vehicle. Just making sure I didn't forget anything. The interior was surprisingly spacious. A small kitchen area with a 2-burner stove. A dinette that converted into a bed, and toward the back. A separate sleeping area, and what I assumed was the bathroom. Everything was compact but efficient, designed for life on the move. "Forgot anything?" Marcus laughed, pulling away from the curb. "Dude, you sent me a packing list 3 weeks ago with subcategories. I'm pretty sure you've got backups." "Preparation isn't a character flaw," I said, settling into the passenger seat. "Never said it was." He glanced at me, something soft in his dark eyes. "It's actually one of my favorite things about you. You balance out my chaos." My heart did that stupid flutter thing it always did when he looked at me like that. I focused on the road ahead, watching Seattle's skyline give way to tree-lined highways. "So remind me again why we're doing this," I asked, even though I knew the answer. Marcus had pitched this idea 2 months ago, a road trip up the Pacific coast. Camping in national parks, photographing the landscape, and reconnecting with what matters. He'd just ended a relationship with a guy named Trevor, investment banker, who'd wanted Marcus to settle down and get a real job. Breakup had been mutual, but still stung, 'cause life's too short to stay in one place, Marcus said, his voice taking on that dreamy quality it got when he talked about his wanderlust. "And because you've been working yourself into the ground for months, when's the last time you took a real break, Alex?" "I took a long weekend in March to deep clean your apartment and reorganize your filing system. That doesn't count." He merged onto I-5 North, the RV handling surprisingly well. "You need this." "We both do." He wasn't wrong. My anxiety had been creeping up lately, manifesting in the way I triple-checked locks and made contingency plans for my contingency plans. My therapist had suggested I needed to practice tolerating uncertainty. When Marcus proposed this trip, She'd practically pushed me out of her office to say yes. The first few hours passed in comfortable conversation. We'd planned our route carefully, or rather, I'd planned it carefully, while Marcus nodded and added spontaneous detours to the margins. Olympic National Forest, Cannon Beach, the Oregon coast, Crater Lake, and eventually down through Northern California's redwoods. "I'm thinking we stop at that campground near Lake Quinault tonight," Marcus said. "Checking the GPS. Should get there around 7, if traffic stays decent." "Campground reservations are under your name," I confirmed. Pulling up the confirmation email on my phone for the third time, Marcus reached over and gently plucked the phone from my hands, setting it in the cup holder. "Hey, no work emails, no obsessive planning. This trip is about being present. Deal." His fingers had brushed mine, and that brief contact sent electricity up my arm. I curled my hand into a fist, trying to neutralize the sensation. "Ill," I said, though my stomach churned with the kind of nervousness that had nothing to do with work. The landscape shifted as we drove north. Suburban sprawl giving way to dense forests, the air growing crisp with the scent of pine and approaching rain. Marcus had curated a playlist of indie folk and alternative rock, and we sang along badly to songs about leaving and longing and finding yourself on empty highways around hour 3. I noticed Marcus shifting in his seat, rolling his shoulders. "You want me to drive for a while?" I offered. "Nah, I'm good. Just getting used to handling this beast." He patted the dashboard affectionately. "Although I might need you to navigate when we get closer. The GPS says there's construction, and you're way better at that stuff than me." We fell into an easy rhythm, me calling out turns and road conditions, Marcus handling the vehicle with surprising grace. This was what our friendship had always been: complimentary, comfortable, safe. Except it didn't feel entirely safe anymore. Not with the way I noticed the sunlight catching the sharp line of his jaw, or how his hands looked on the steering wheel, or the way his t-shirt rode up slightly when he reached for the AC controls. Revealing a strip of golden skin above his jeans, I forced my eyes back to the road. By the time we reached Lake Quinault, the sun hung low in the sky, painting everything in shades of amber and rose gold. The campground was nestled among towering Douglas firs, the lake visible through breaks in the trees, its surface mirror-smooth. Marcus parked the RV in our designated spot, and we both climbed out, stretching road-stiff muscles. "This is perfect," Marcus breathed. Already reaching for his camera, he moved around the site like a man possessed, capturing angles and light, completely in his element. I watched him work, the way he became utterly absorbed, the way his whole face transformed when he found the perfect shot. This was Marcus at his most authentic, not trying to fit into anyone else's vision of who he should be, just existing in pure creative flow. "You're staring," he called, without looking up from his viewfinder. "Just admiring the view," I said quickly, which was true even if I wasn't talking about the lake. He lowered his camera and looked at me. Really looked at me, and for a moment, something unspoken passed between us. Then he smiled, breaking the tension. "Let's set up camp and figure out dinner. I'm starving." We worked together to level the RV, connect the utilities, and extend the awning. It felt domestic in a way that made my chest tight, like we were playing house, pretending it's something we'd never actually have. "I'll cook if you handle cleanup," Marcus offered. "Already pulling ingredients from the small refrigerator? You're going to give me food poisoning?" I teased. Remembering the last time he'd attempted to make pasta and somehow burned water? That was one time, and I've been practicing. He pulled out vegetables, pasta, and what looked like actual fresh herbs. "Sit. Let me prove I'm not completely hopeless." I settled into the dinette, watching him move around the compact kitchen. He'd rolled up his sleeves, and I tracked the movement of his forearms as he chopped vegetables, the flex of muscle under skin. He was talking about a photography exhibit he'd seen, his voice animated, hands gesturing with the knife in a way that should have been concerning but was somehow endearing. The moment shattered when his phone buzzed loudly on the counter. He pulled his hand back, grabbing the phone and frowning at the screen. "Sorry, it's my mom." "I should take it," I said, my hand still warm from his touch. He stepped outside to talk. I sat there, heart racing, trying to decipher what had just happened. That wasn't friendship. That was something else entirely. By the time he came back in, I'd cleaned up dinner and schooled my expression into something neutral. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah, just checking in." "She worries when I travel." He ran a hand through his hair, looking suddenly exhausted. "Long day. I think I'm going to grab a quick shower and crash." "That cool?" Of course. He grabbed some clothes from his bag and headed toward the back of the RV where the bathroom was located. I heard the water start, tried very hard not to picture what was happening behind that door, and pulled out my tablet to distract myself with a book. I'd read maybe 2 pages when I heard Marcus swear loudly from the bathroom. "Everything okay?" I called. "The shower door won't close properly." He shouted back over the sound of running water. "It keeps swinging open. Can you grab my towel?" I left it by my bag. I found the towel forest green, still folded, and approached the bathroom door. "I'm just going to set it right outside the door," I said. "I know, just bring it in. I'm literally drowning here, and I can't reach the door to hold it closed." I hesitated for only a second before opening the door, and that's when I saw him. The shower door had indeed swung open. Marcus stood under the spray, water cascading over his shoulders, down the planes of his chest, the defined muscles of his stomach. His eyes were squeezed shut against the water, one arm reaching blindly for something to grab onto. Completely unaware that I was seeing every inch of him, time stopped. My brain cataloged everything in excruciating detail. The water droplets on his skin catching the bathroom light, the strength in his shoulders, the tattoo on his ribs I'd never known existed, some kind of bird in flight. The vulnerability of him, exposed and beautiful and completely unguarded. And then his eyes opened. We locked gazes, he frozen in the doorway holding his towel. Him naked and dripping. The shower door hanging uselessly open between us. Neither of us moved. Neither of us breathed. The moment stretched, pulled taut like a wire about to snap. I saw the exact second awareness flooded his expression, saw his pupils dilate, saw the way his lips parted on an inhale that had nothing to do with surprise and everything to do with something. I recognized because I felt it too, want raw. Undeniable mutual want. "Alex," he said. My name barely a whisper under the sound of the water. I should have looked away. Should have apologized, left the towel, and run. Should have protected our friendship and the careful balance we'd maintained for 3 years. Instead, stepped forward and held out the towel. Marcus reached for it, and our fingers brushed. That same electricity from earlier, multiplied by 1,000. His hand closed around mine on the fabric, and neither of us let go. I started. "Don't," he said. "Don't run." "Marcus, He stepped out of the shower. Water still streaming down his body, the towel trapped between our joined hands. We were inches apart now, close enough that I could see the rise and fall of his chest, could feel the heat radiating off his skin. "How long?" he asked, his voice rough. I knew what he was asking. How long had I been looking at him like this? How long had I wanted? 3 years, I whispered. Since the beginning. Something like relief flooded his face. Thank God. I thought I was going crazy. Then he kissed me. What happens next? Did I just ruin my friendship with Marcus? Or was this the beginning of something we'd both been too scared to acknowledge? We'll dive into what happened after that kiss, the conversation we should have had years ago, and the journey of figuring out if we could be more than friends, or if we'd just destroyed the best thing in both our lives. The kiss was everything, I'd imagined, and nothing I could have prepared for. Marcus's lips were soft but insistent, tasting like the mint toothpaste he'd used before his shower, and something uniquely him. One of his hands came up to cup my jaw, still damp from the shower, and I made a sound I'd never heard myself make before, somewhere between a gasp and a plea. He pulled back. Just inches, his forehead resting against mine. Water from his hair dripped onto my shirt, and I couldn't bring myself to care. "Tell me this is okay," he breathed. "Tell me you want this too." "I've wanted this for so long, I forgot what not wanting it felt like," I admitted, the truth spilling out before I could stop it. He smiled against my lips before kissing me again, deeper this time. My hands found his shoulders wet and warm and solid, and I held on like he was the only real thing in the world. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, reality started to creep back in. Marcus was still naked, dripping water all over the bathroom floor. I was fully clothed and borderline dizzy from the kissing and the implications of what we'd just done. Marcus gestured vaguely at himself. Towel, clothes, not traumatizing you further. I laughed, the sound slightly hysterical. I don't think traumatized is the word I'd use. His eyes darkened. No? What word would you use? The flirtation in his voice sent heat flooding through me. This was new territory. Marcus and I had always been playful, but never like this. Never charged with the weight of acknowledged desire. Overwhelmed, I said honestly. In the best way. He wrapped the towel around his waist, suddenly looking uncertain. Alex, I don't want to mess this up. You're important to me. The most important person in my life, if I'm being honest. My heart stuttered. Then why did you kiss me? Because I couldn't not kiss you anymore. He ran a hand through his wet hair, water droplets scattering. I'd been trying to convince myself we were just friends for 3 years. That what I felt was normal friendship stuff. That everyone wants to kiss their best friend and wake up next to them, and he stopped, looking embarrassed. I was lying to myself. And after Trevor, after that whole relationship fell apart because I couldn't stop comparing him to you, I realized I was done lying. I leaned against the bathroom doorframe, trying to process everything. You compared him to me? Constantly. He'd do something, and I'd think Alex would have done it differently. Alex would have made that joke. Alex would have understood. Marcus's voice dropped. He told me at the end that he knew I was in love with someone else. I didn't have the guts to admit he was right, or that the someone else was you. The confession hung between us, vulnerable and raw. I thought I was alone in this, I said quietly. I thought I was the only one breaking the rules of friendship by wanting more. You weren't. You've never been alone in this. He stepped closer, careful to maintain the towel. But we should probably talk about this when I'm not naked and we're not both emotionally overwhelmed. I nodded, even though part of me wanted to stay in this moment forever, suspended in the certainty of mutual feeling before doubt could creep in. Marcus. Grabbed some clothes and changed in the bathroom while I retreated to the main area of the RV. Sitting at the dinette and trying to calm my racing heart, my lips still tingled. My whole body felt electric, alive in a way it hadn't in years. When Marcus emerged, wearing sweatpants and a faded college t-shirt, his hair still damp and messy, he looked impossibly good. He sat across from me at the dinette, close enough that our knees touched under the table. So, he said, we should probably figure out what we're doing here. Probably, I agreed, though my brain felt like static. I don't want to lose you, Marcus said, his voice serious now. If we do this, if we try to be more than friends and it doesn't work out, I can't lose you from my life. You're too important. No. I've been terrified of the same thing. I forced myself to meet his eyes. But Marcus, I don't think I can go back to pretending anymore. Not after that kiss. Not after knowing you feel this too. He reached across the table and took my hand, threading our fingers together. I don't want to go back either. I just want to do this right. I want to be thoughtful about it. Make sure we're on the same page. This was so characteristically Marcus, impulsive enough to kiss me, thoughtful enough to want to talk it through, and characteristically me to appreciate the planning. Even as my heart screamed at me to just kiss him again and figure out the details later. Okay, I said. Let's talk. What do you want? You, he said simply. I want to date you. Take you to dinner, hold your hand in public, fall asleep next to you, and wake up beside you. I want all the sappy, romantic couple stuff I've been pretending I didn't want. My throat tightened with emotion. I want that too. All of it. But I'm still figuring out my career, still traveling a lot. I can't promise I'll be in one place consistently. His thumb rubbed circles on the back of my hand. I know you need stability. I don't want to ask you to change who you are. And I don't want you to stop being who you are, I countered. Your passion for photography, your spontaneity, those are things I love about you. I don't need you to become someone else. I just need you to let me be part of your life, wherever that life takes you. He smiled, soft and genuine. You really mean that? I do, and honestly. Maybe your chaos is exactly what I need. Maybe you'll help me loosen up, take more risks, actually live instead of just existing in my carefully controlled routines. And maybe you'll help me remember to slow down sometimes, to appreciate the moment instead of always chasing the next one. Marcus stood, pulling me up with him, and wrapped his arms around me. We could be good for each other. We already are good for each other, I said, settling into his embrace. We have been for 3 years. We stood like that for a long moment, just holding each other, the enormity of what we'd acknowledged settling over us. Outside, I could hear the lake lapping at the shore, the wind in the trees, the distant call of night birds. So we're doing this? Marcus asked against my hair. We're actually doing this? Yeah, I said. We're doing this. He pulled back just enough to kiss me again, and this time it was slower, sweeter a promise instead of a confession. When we broke apart, he yawned hugely, and I felt my own exhaustion catching up with me. We should sleep, I said reluctantly. Marcus nodded toward the back of the RV. The bed back there is bigger. More comfortable than the dinette conversion. We don't have to, but if you wanted to, I want to, I said, surprising myself with how much I meant it. We got ready for bed in a comfortable silence, brushing our teeth side by side at the tiny sink, the domesticity of it making my heart swell. Marcus pulled back the covers on the bed, a full-size mattress built into the back of the RV, surrounded by storage cabinets and a small window that showed the dark forest beyond. We climbed in together, and the bed was just small enough that we had to press close. Marcus immediately pulled me against him, my back to his chest, his arm draped over my waist. Is this okay? He murmured, his breath warm against my neck. More than okay, I whispered. I felt him smile against my skin. Good, because I've wanted to fall asleep like this for approximately 3 years, same, I admitted. Lacing my fingers with his where they rested on my stomach, we lay there in the darkness, listening to each other breathe. The reality of being together finally settling into something real and solid. Alex, Marcus said after a while. Yeah, thank you for walking in on my shower. I laughed, the sound muffled against the pillow. Thank you for having a broken shower door. We should probably fix that before tomorrow. Definitely. Although I'm not complaining about the consequences. He hugged me tighter. Me neither. Best broken shower door ever. I fell asleep in his arms, feeling safer and more content than I had in years. The next morning, I woke to sunlight streaming through the small window and the warmth of Marcus still wrapped around me. For a blissful moment, I thought maybe I'd dreamed the whole thing. Then Marcus stirred, pressing a kiss to my shoulder, and I knew it was real. Morning, he mumbled, voice rough with sleep. Morning, I said, turning in his arms to face him. His hair was a disaster, sticking up in every direction. He had pillow creases on his cheek. He was perfect. So that happened, he said, smiling. It did. We're good. No morning after regrets. I kissed him in answer, soft and quick. No regrets. You. None. Although I am having regrets about not doing this sooner. Stretched, the movement pressing him even closer to me. We wasted 3 years. You weren't ready 3 years ago, I said thoughtfully. I don't think I was ready to take this kind of risk. And you were in a different place too. When did you get so wise? I have a good therapist. We lay there talking for another hour about our hopes for this trip. About what dating would look like. about practical things like how we'd navigate telling our friends and families. Marcus's parents already knew he was gay and had been supportive. My own coming out had been more recent and more complicated, but I was getting there. "We don't have to rush anything," Marcus assured me. "We can take this at whatever pace feels right for you." Eventually, hunger drove us out of bed. Marcus made coffee while I attempted to fix the shower door, discovering that one of the hinges had worked loose. A quick trip to the campground office provided a screwdriver, and I tightened everything back into place. "My hero," Marcus said dramatically when I emerged, handing me a cup of coffee made exactly how I liked it, which he'd memorized years ago. We spent the day hiking around Lake Quinault, Marcus photographing everything from massive cedar trees to the play of light on water. I watched him work, no longer trying to hide my appreciation, and caught him watching me the same way when he thought I wasn't looking. That evening, we made dinner together in the tiny kitchen, moving around each other with practiced ease. Except now Marcus would pause to kiss my cheek as he passed, or I'd rest my hand on his lower back while reaching for a spice. And these small touches felt revolutionary after dinner. We sat outside under the awning, watching the stars emerge in the darkening sky. Marcus had his camera out, trying to capture the Milky Way, while I simply existed in the moment, something that would have been impossible for me before. "I got it," Marcus said triumphantly, showing me the camera screen. The image was breathtaking, stars scattered across the black canvas of night, the silhouette of trees framing the scene. "It's beautiful," I said. "You're beautiful," he countered. Setting the camera aside and pulling me closer on the bench, I rolled my eyes, but I was smiling. "That was incredibly corny. Get used to it. I plan to be disgustingly romantic now that I can." He kissed my temple. 3 years of pent-up feelings have to go somewhere. I'm not complaining. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, and then Marcus said, "Can I ask you something?" "Anything. When did you know that you had feelings for me?" I thought back, trying to pinpoint the exact moment. "Remember that night about 6 months after we met? You'd had that gallery rejection, and you showed up at my apartment at midnight, devastated." "Yeah," he said quietly. "We stayed up all night talking. You told me about your dreams, about why you became a photographer, about your fear that you'd never be good enough. And somewhere around 4 a.m., you fell asleep on my couch mid-sentence, and I just looked at you." I paused, the memory visceral, and I thought, I could love this person. I could love him so completely, it would change everything. It terrified me. I knew that night too, or at least I should have known. You listened to me ramble for hours, made me tea, told me my work was important, even if some gallery couldn't see it. You made me feel seen in a way no one ever had. He took a shaky breath. "I think I've been falling in love with you since that night." Just in slow motion, L word hung in the air between us. Acknowledged, but not quite spoken directly. "Marcus, you don't have to say it back," he said quickly. "I know this is all new, being together officially. I just wanted you to know where I'm at." I turned to face him fully, taking his face in my hands. "I love you too. I've loved you for so long I don't remember what it felt like not to love you." His eyes shone in the starlight, and when he kissed me this time, it tasted like tears and joy and relief. We made our way back inside eventually, curling up together in the bed. That was quickly becoming our favorite part of the RV, as I drifted off to sleep in his arms for the second night in a row. I thought about how one broken shower door and a moment of courage had changed everything. Tomorrow we'd continue north, exploring new places together. But tonight, wrapped in Marcus's warmth, I was exactly where I needed to be. The rest of the week unfolded like a dream. We drove up the Oregon coast, stopping at Cannon Beach, where Marcus photographed the iconic Haystack Rock while I collected sea glass. We explored tide pools, held hands as we walked along windswept beaches, and kissed under the shelter of ancient rock formations. At Cape Perpetua, we hiked 2 viewpoints that made my fear of heights kick in, and Marcus held my hand the entire way, talking me through my anxiety with patience and understanding. From the summit, we watched whales breach in the distance, their massive forms erupting from the Pacific in displays of wild freedom. "That's how I feel right now," Marcus said, arm around my shoulders as we watched. like I could breach the surface and fly. I understood exactly what he meant. Each night, we'd park the RV in a new campground, and each night we'd fall asleep tangled together, talking about everything and nothing until our words dissolved into comfortable silence. But it wasn't all perfect. On day 6, we had our first real disagreement. I'd been planning our route through Crater Lake, calculating drive times, mapping rest stops, scheduling activities with my typical precision. Marcus had taken one look at the spreadsheet I'd created and balked. "Alex, this is supposed to be an adventure, not a military operation." "I'm just trying to make sure we don't miss anything important," I defended. "But you're scheduling spontaneity. Look, you literally have unplanned time blocked out from 2 to 3 p.m. He pointed at my tablet screen. "That defeats the entire purpose of unplanned time. Someone has to make sure we have campground reservations and know when parks close," I shot back. Feeling defensive, "I'm not saying don't plan anything. I'm saying maybe we don't need to plan everything down to the minute." His voice was gentle but firm. "You're doing that thing where you try to control everything because you're anxious?" "I'm not," I stopped, because he was right. The more real this relationship became, the more my anxiety had been creeping in, trying to create certainty where none existed. Okay, maybe I am. Marcus sat down next to me, taking the tablet and setting it aside. "Talk to me. What are you actually worried about?" I struggled to articulate the knot of fear in my chest. What if this doesn't last? What if we get back to real life and realize this was just vacation magic? What if we're better as friends, and we've ruined everything? "Those are all valid fears," he said, taking my hand. "I'm scared too, but making a minute-by-minute schedule isn't going to protect us from uncertainty. Nothing can guarantee what happens next." "I know. Intellectually, I know that." I leaned into him. "But my brain doesn't care about logic when it's panicking." "Then let me be your reality check." He kissed my forehead. "We're good together, Alex. Not just on vacation, but in real life. We've been good together for 3 years as friends. Adding romance doesn't erase that foundation. What if you get tired of my anxiety? My need for structure? What if you get tired of my chaos? My inability to commit to a single city?" He countered. "We could what-if ourselves to death. Or we could trust that what we have is strong enough to weather the differences." God. Took a deep breath, trying to let his words sink in. "Okay, you're right. I'll try to let go a little more. I'll try to meet you halfway with some structure," he offered. "We're a team now. We figure this out together." The disagreement resolved. We compromised, keeping basic plans for major stops, but leaving more room for spontaneous detours. And to Marcus's credit, when we stumbled upon a strawberry farm advertising you picked that afternoon, and I suggested we stop, even though it wasn't on any schedule, he beamed at me like I'd hung the moon. We spent 2 hours picking strawberries in the June sunshine, eating more than we saved. And Marcus took photos of me with berry-stained fingers and a genuine smile I didn't know I could wear. "This is my new favorite photo of you," he said, showing me the image. In it, I was laughing at something he'd said. Sunlight catching my hair, a strawberry halfway to my mouth. "I look ridiculous. You look happy. You look free." He kissed me, tasting like strawberries in summer. "You look loved." And I realized he was right. For the first time in years, maybe ever, I looked genuinely, unguardedly happy. The journey continues as Alex and Marcus navigate their new relationship against the backdrop of the Pacific Northwest's stunning landscapes. But challenges lie ahead, meeting Marcus's family, Alex confronting his own fears. And the question of what happens when the road trip ends, we'll discover if their love can survive the transition from adventure to real life, and whether the promise they made under the stars can weather the storms ahead. Continue 11:28. AM 3. Home is where the Heart Ice Crater Lake took my breath away. The impossibly blue water. The volcanic rim rising around it. The clarity of the air at 7,000 feet was the kind of beauty that made you believe in something larger than yourself. Marcus and I stood at the rim overlook, his arm around my waist, both of us silent in the face of such majesty. "I want to remember this moment forever," he said quietly. "Us, here at the start of everything." "You're such a romantic," I teased. But my voice was thick with emotion. "Only with you." He turned me to face him, the vast blue of the lake behind us. I mean it, Alex. Everything feels different now. Better, like I spent 3 years living in black and white. Suddenly the world's in color. I kissed him, there at the edge of the world, and felt the truth of his words in my bones. We spent 2 days at Crater Lake, hiking the rim trail, exploring Wizard Island, and spending evenings in the RV talking about our futures, both individual and together. Marcus showed me his portfolio, the photos he was most proud of, and I shared my design work, the projects that meant something beyond just a paycheck. You're incredibly talented, Marcus said, scrolling through my portfolio on my laptop. These brand identity packages are amazing. Have you ever thought about going freelance? Working for yourself? That terrifies me, I admitted. The uncertainty of it. But think about the freedom. You could work from anywhere, travel with me when I have assignments. He looked up, excitement lighting his features. We could build a life that works for both of us, instead of trying to fit into traditional boxes. The idea took root in my mind, both thrilling and terrifying. I'd need to plan it carefully. Build up savings, establish a client base first. Of course, you wouldn't be you if you didn't plan it meticulously, he grinned. But maybe think about it. We don't have to make any big decisions now. I just want you to know that I see a future with you, and I'm willing to work to make that future something we both want. That night, as we lay in bed, I allowed myself to imagine a life with Marcus that didn't require one of us to completely sacrifice who we were. Maybe we could find a balance, a way to honor both his wanderlust and my need for roots. Penny for your thoughts. Marcus murmured, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on my arm. Just thinking about possibilities, I said, about what our life could look like. And I think I like what I'm imagining. He pulled me closer, and I felt his smile against my shoulder. Good, because I'm imagining it too. Day 12 brought us to Ashland, Oregon. And an unexpected detour. Marcus's parents lived there. I know this wasn't on the schedule, Marcus said as we drove into town, looking nervous in a way I'd rarely seen him. But my mom called yesterday and asked if we could stop by. I haven't told them about us yet, but I want to. If you're comfortable with that. My stomach churned with anxiety, but I nodded. I want to meet them properly. As your boyfriend. The word still felt new on my tongue, but Marcus's face lit up every time I said it. His parents' house was a charming craftsman-style home with a garden that clearly received a lot of love. His mother Helen answered the door before we'd even made it up the walk, pulling Marcus into a fierce hug before turning to me. Alex, Marcus has told us so much about you. She hugged me too, and there was genuine warmth in it. Come in, come in. I made lunch. Marcus's father, James, was quieter but kind, shaking my hand with a firm grip and a knowing smile that made me wonder. James spoke up then, his voice gruff but warm. Marcus, you've always been someone who follows his heart, sometimes before his head. But Alex here seems like someone who can provide that balance. You're good for each other. We spent the afternoon with them, and I got to see Marcus in the context of his family, the easy affection, the inside jokes, the way his mother still made his favorite cookies, even though he was 30 years old. It painted a picture of a childhood filled with love and acceptance. And I understood better where Marcus's openness and optimism came from as we were leaving. Helen pulled me aside while Marcus was helping his father in the garage. Take care of him, she said softly. He seems tough, all confident and adventurous, but he feels things deeply. He's been hurt before, I know. I will, I promised. And he takes care of me too. We take care of each other. She patted my cheek. That's all I needed to hear, driving away from Ashland. Marcus was quiet for a while before saying, That went better than I expected. Your parents are wonderful. They really are. He glanced at me. I know your family situation is more complicated. We don't have to tell them about us if you're not ready. I want to, I said, surprising myself. Eventually. I just need to figure out how. But seeing your parents today, seeing how it can be, it gives me hope. He reached over and squeezed my knee. Whenever you're ready, I'll be there. Our final stop was the Redwood National Forest in Northern California. Walking among the ancient giants, felt dwarfed by both their size and their age trees that had been alive for thousands of years. Bearing witness to countless human dramas and romances makes our problems feel pretty small, doesn't it? Marcus said, tilting his head back to try to see the top of a massive redwood. Or makes our time feel precious, I countered. These trees will be here long after we're gone. We should make the most of what time we have. When did you become the philosophical one? I learned from the best. I took his hand. Come on. I want to show you something. I led him off the main trail to a spot I'd found earlier when I'd gone for a solo walk. It was a clearing among the redwoods, carpeted in ferns, with dappled sunlight filtering through the canopy above. Perfect, Marcus breathed, already reaching for his camera. Right, I said, stopping him. No camera. Just us? He looked surprised, but set the camera down on a fallen log. Okay, what did you want to show me? I took a deep breath, nerves and excitement tangling in my chest. I've been thinking about what you said at Crater Lake, about the future, about building a life together. Yeah, I want that. I want to try to make something that works for both of us. The words came out in a rush. I've been so scared of uncertainty my whole life, always trying to control everything. But being with you these past 2 weeks, I've realized that the best things happen when I let go of that control, when I trust. Marcus stepped closer, his eyes intense. What are you saying? I'm saying when we get back to Seattle, I'm going to look into freelancing. Start building a client base while I still have my day job, with the goal of going out on my own within a year. My heart raced. And I'm saying that I want to travel with you sometimes, when you have assignments. I want to figure out how to blend our worlds instead of keeping them separate. Alex, that's so you don't have to change your whole life for me. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for us. For me, I took his hands. You've shown me that there's a whole world out there I've been too scared to explore. I want to be brave enough to live in it with you. He pulled me into a kiss that was somehow both gentle and desperate, his hands framing my face like I was something precious. I love you, he said against my lips. I love you so much it scares me sometimes. I love you too, I replied. And the words felt less scary each time I said them. We sank down into the ferns together, holding each other in the cathedral of the redwoods, and I felt something shift and settle in my chest, a sense of rightness, of being exactly where I was meant to be. Our last night on the road was bittersweet. We'd parked at a beachside campground in Crescent City, California. The final stop before we'd turn around and head back to Seattle, we built a small fire in the designated pit, sitting close on a bench and watching the flames dance. The ocean was a constant rush of sound beyond the dunes, and the stars were beginning to emerge. I don't want this to end, I admitted. These past 2 weeks have been the best of my life. They don't have to end, Marcus said. The trip might be over, but we're not. We're just beginning. But what if it's different back home? What if the magic doesn't translate to real life? He turned to face me fully. Alex, we've been doing real life together for 3 years. We know how to do real life. The only thing that's different now is that we're not pretending anymore. We're not hiding how we feel. You make it sound so simple, because it is simple. I love you. You love me. We figure out the rest as we go. He stood, pulling me up with him. Dance with me. There's no music. So what? He pulled out his phone, queued up a song, and set it on the bench. Soft indie folk drifted across the campsite. Dance with me anyway. We swayed together by the firelight, and it was awkward and perfect and everything I'd never known I needed. Marcus sang along softly, off-key, and I laughed against his shoulder. See, he said. We're already good at real life together. That night, in our little RV that had become home over the past 2 weeks, we made love for the first time. It was gentle and hesitant and beautiful, full of whispered reassurances and moments of laughter when we bumped elbows or misjudged angles in the small space. Afterwards, wrapped in each other, Marcus traced patterns on my skin and said, I want 1,000 more nights like this. Just 1,000? Okay, 1,000,000. Infinite nights. However many we get. I kissed his shoulder, feeling utterly content. I'll take it. The drive back to Seattle took 3 days, and we fell into an easy rhythm-sharing driving duties, stopping when something caught our eye, making love in the RV in different campgrounds along the way. We were already planning our next trip, already talking about Thanksgiving with his parents and maybe Christmas with mine if I could work up the courage. When we finally pulled into Seattle, the city felt both familiar and foreign. We'd left as friends and returned as partners, and everything looked different through that lens. Marcus parked the RV in his storage facility, and we stood there for a moment, neither of us wanting to be the first to leave. So he said, "What now?" "Now we go back to our apartments, unpack, probably do mountains of laundry." I smiled. "And then tomorrow, you come over for dinner, and we start figuring out what our regular life looks like." "I can work with that," pulled me close. "But I'm sleeping over." Presumptuous. "Hopeful," he corrected, kissing me. "I've gotten used to falling asleep next to you." "Don't want to stop now." "Good." "Because I've gotten used to it too." We unloaded our bags, and Marcus walked me to my car. Before I got in, he caught my hand. "Hey, thank you for taking this trip with me. For taking a chance on us." "Thank you for having a broken shower door," I said, making him laugh. "Best malfunction ever." He kissed me once more, soft and sweet. "I'll see you tomorrow?" "Tomorrow," I confirmed. "And the day after that? And the day after that? Promise." Promise. The RV was parked in my word driveway, loaded up for another adventure. This time we were heading east, planning to spend the holidays with both our families. A trip that would have terrified me a year ago, but now just felt right. I'd given notice at my day job 3 months ago, and my freelance business was thriving beyond my expectations. Marcus had started teaching photography workshops, which meant slightly less travel, but more stable income. We'd found a rhythm that worked him traveling for assignments, me working from home but joining him when I could, both of us coming together in the apartment we now shared. "You ready?" Marcus called from the RV. I locked the front door and jogged over, climbing into the passenger seat. "Ready?" I said. He leaned over to kiss me, familiar and comfortable, and still electric after 6 months. "Let's go home." "We are home," I pointed out. "Home is wherever we are together," he corrected, pulling out of the driveway. "The physical location is just details." I settled into my seat, watching Seattle fade behind us, and realized he was right. Home wasn't a place anymore. Home was the man beside me, the adventures we'd take together, the life we were building 1 mile at a time. My phone buzzed with a text from my mom. "Looking forward to seeing you both. Love ya." It had taken time, several difficult conversations, and a lot of patience, but my parents were trying. They'd met Marcus over video chat, seen how happy I was, and slowly started to come around. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. "My mom's excited to meet you in person," I told Marcus. "Yeah, I'm excited too. Nervous, but excited." He glanced at me. "We'll get through it together." "Together," I agreed. The highway stretched before us, full of possibility and unknown adventures. My old self would have needed a detailed itinerary, contingency plans for every scenario, certainty about every mile, but I'd learned something over the past 6 months. The best parts of life happened in the unplanned moments, in broken shower doors and spontaneous detours, in taking chances on love and trusting that the person beside you would catch you if you fell.
"Hey, Marcus?"
I said as we merged onto the interstate. "Yeah, I love you." He grinned, that same smile that had captured my heart 3.5 years ago. "I love you too." "Now, you want to pick the music, or should I surprise you?" "Surprise me," I said, and meant it, as indie folk filled the RV and the road unfolded before us. I realized this was the life I'd been too scared to dream of, messy and uncertain, and absolutely perfect. And it had all started with a moment of vulnerability, a broken shower door, and the courage to finally tell my best friend that he was so much more than that sometimes. The best journeys aren't about the destination. They're about finding the person who makes you want to keep traveling, keep exploring, keep growing, and having the courage to say yes when they ask if you want to come along for the ride. I said yes. And I'd keep saying yes every single day. For as long as Marcus would have me, turns out, you really can find love when you least expect it, even if it's been sitting right beside you the whole time, just waiting for you both to be brave enough to look.